it's going to be pretty crazy. I got to say, this series should be a really good one, so I hope you guys are tuning in. And we're going to head on over to our casters right now because we're going to get this series underway, and it is Gaskin and Shorzy on the mics. Fellas, how you guys doing? Nice to see you.
Thanks so much. One thing I know I am feeling, Dan, is a little bit excited to jump into winner semi-finals time because it's two heavyweights going at it and the cream is really starting to rise and get to the top.
Yeah, and it's two teams who have a lot of history and of course have played each other back in Arlington, a 3-0 then, but I just feel like Sentinels have a little bit more here in Salt Lake City. They've just been showing a great amount of pressure on the teams that they've been going up against, and I'm very excited with the series layout coming up, is the fact that we're going to see a lot more recharge. We didn't get to see recharge back in Arlington, and I will say FaZe sometimes can look a little bit iffy when it comes to some of these maps and modes, especially on recharge. So map number 1, Stronghold's recharge. I think this is huge for Sentinels' chances in this series. If they can take map 1, that will give them a nice little breath of fresh air going into a new map and mode of Slayer Solitude. It's not the worst series in the world for this Sentinels roster.
And you speak about Sentinels looking a little bit better this tournament. That's with good reason and with some evidence as well. Already taking down Optic Gaming. Can they go one better and taking down a team that's looking to three-peat here?
Yeah, and I think that we didn't necessarily get to see that from Sentinels last time. They were beating the kind of, Cloud9s, and they were taking down teams that maybe were around the top 8, top 6. But now beating Optic Gaming, I think that will give them just that element of belief that, okay, we can beat these top teams. We are good enough now to secure our place in the top 4, if not further in the top 3. Now, FaZe may just be one step too far when you look at how consistent that FaZe roster has been and how good they looked in those finals at Arlington. If FaZe play anything like how they played in the grand finals of Arlington, I'm not sure anyone has a chance against them. But as I mentioned, series layout, maybe it gives Sentinels a real opportunity here. And of course, it is a new event. Sentinels are playing better. FaZe, will they match the same kind of energy they had back in Arlington?
Winner semi-finals time then. FaZe Clan up against Sentinels. No love lost between these two teams, but it's been all one-way traffic whenever they've met before. Is that narrative to change here and now in Salt Lake City? Or will the Kings reign supreme once more? Shields up, weapons hot. We're underway here, folks.
Sentinels, they've been growing, they've been learning, the chemistry has been building throughout this event and last. Now, on your first showing, you can't always expect to roll with the biggest and the best, but as you start to develop, you can certainly give a far better attempt. And I'm thinking this is going to be a closer series than it was previous, but right from the get-go, camouflage, shock rifle, and control here for FaZe.
Frosty has all the goodies. Just marauding at the moment. Getting information. Bubu dubu is no more. Into the back screen. Frosty picking up an unofficial double kill. There is that double kill. 3 dead for Sentinels. And immediately pressuring the new spawns on bottom elevator, and they have all that information that they need to hold B and indeed now C.
Already a killing spree for Frosty. Getting in the face of Sentinels and keeping the pace nice and high, not allowing Sentinels to have that time off of spawn to think about where they want to push, but Sentinels have done well to push through control and just be able to get control of C, so now we're going to see a little bit of an opportunity for Sentinels to start to score. You have to decide where you want to focus here, because of course you need to get B at some point. Bubu's going to step foot in, but he will be pressured by 2 spawners.
Shock rifle no longer in play. Renegade and SnakeBite pick up a couple of kills and continue to hold A and B. LethuL putting down a little bit of damage, waiting for his team to spawn back up. That grenade will find a home with his former teammate, SnakeBite. Frosty over towards top gold. That's where the spawns are going to be. Royal 2 in pipes. Trying to just claim a little bit of space, but Renegade has found a pick here. An opening of bubu dubu shuts it down extremely quickly. And a triple cap could very well be in effect very shortly.
And I'm sure they're sick of hearing it by now, but it will always still have that narrative of LethuL did used to be on this team, Renegade has replaced him, and there's always that what if moment if Sentinels were able to beat FaZe and what that would feel like for LethuL. And how imperative it is that FaZe do not lose against a former teammate. All those things will be in the back of your mind, but in the moment, 86-8, FaZe firmly in control of this one. Sentinels have not been able to get going. It has actually only really been LethuL that has been able to put up a fight in terms of slays. 7 kills at the moment, but he'll also go down in B.
All 4 dead for a moment. Shock rifle scooped up by Renegade. Waiting for information, teammates immediately start to claim space over towards A. That will mean spawns will be over on the C side. Sentinels immediately try and jump in just to negate any further damage. C will be lost, but they've already got A. Continue to score here. It's 108 and climbing very quickly. Sentinels just have not been able to get a foothold in the game.
And even though I may have mentioned that Recharge maybe isn't FaZe's best map in general, Strongholds, probably the best game type on Recharge for them. They've struggled a little bit in Slayers here, but on Strongholds they just seem to know how to hold it, which angles to be watching and when they need to be pressuring those spawns. B's going to be contested, and LethuL does a fantastic job to work alongside Spartan, and now Sentinels will have control of B and C here, but they just need to churn a bit of time here and make sure they force FaZe back. If they can get another 4 dead, then maybe they can start to slip their way back into this game.
It was a late night Sunday after party at Arlington, and SnakeBite could be seen talking to the Quadrant boys, trying to pick their brains. What is it they do differently than everybody else? Trying to, no doubt, leave no stone unturned. It's 126 now. Sentinels have managed to get a couple of strongholds, but it's Royal 2 with Shock Rifle in pipes, and Frosty engaging with LethuL over towards top A. Frosty comes out on top this time, camo in 10. This next camouflage can be pivotal in this fight. Falcated gets close and gets the kill.
Have to be ripping that Shock Rifle away from any of these FaZe players' hands, because they consistently are getting control of both A and B, and then they're able to watch those angles with the Shock, a camo to go alongside it. They've got all the goodies they could possibly want, and Sentinels are always on the back foot at the moment. Off spawn, they're trying to dart towards either A or C, and now this is going to be the downside of spawning over towards Elevator, as you're so vulnerable to a push.
Renegade has to give this one up. The jig is up. He was spotted out. Turns over towards B instead. Camouflage again, though. Just not enough to keep him alive. Sentinels with great communication. Spot him out. 2 dead now. And here is the chance for Sentinels to claw their way back into this game. Not out of the things whatsoever. Royal 2 will get a pick 2 down once more. These teams continue to trade left and right, but it continues to be FaZe while holding a lead.
Yeah, notice how FaZe don't try and step foot in a stronghold and then try and take a fight. They take their fight first, they get the player advantage, and then they decide where they want to push. They did try and assess whether B was doable, but quickly they got taken out of that stronghold, so they now try and focus over towards A. And Renegade's had this needler towards A for quite some time, but hasn't really been able to connect with it, and Sentinels will still hold on. So this is a far better hold now from Sentinels. If you can kind of force the other team to split push and look towards both B and A, then you give yourself a far better opportunity.
Beautiful pressure from Sentinels in the mid-game. A in control for FaZe. C swings in Sentinels' control. Camouflage in 25. Expect that to play a pivotal role once more. Renegade's moving towards pipes. SnakeBite's been lost in the process, though. That'll make this push a lot more difficult than it perhaps could have been. Falcated staying alive, making himself a very difficult kill, and stays alive. 4 dead for a moment for FaZe.
It's time to get back into this. Sentinels and FaZe off spawn are trying to quickly rush to gather together, but Sentinels doing well to keep this as a somewhat staggered spawn. Oh, as Frosty will fall, and Falcated starting to heat up now. Falcated, one of the big reasons why Sentinels had so much success, not just at this event, but of course at Arlington as well. An incredible player in his own right, and also very good at working with his team. As once more FaZe find themselves falling down, and Sentinels suddenly are only within 10. FaZe had such a commanding lead, but this is why Sentinels are such a scary team to play against, is they can just burst into life when you least expect it.
This is Sentinels' first camouflage pickup of the game. Another 3 have gone the way of FaZe. Grapple hook in control as well. There is a repulsor on the floor if he needs it. He has scooped it up. 3 uses, just juggling them left and right. Perhaps we'll hand one off to a teammate, but he's been caught unawares. Perhaps SnakeBite's about to pick his pocket here. Damage being done. Spartan continues to make himself a difficult kill, milking for long enough for LethuL to come over and get his trade.
LethuL gets the trade, and it's his 16th kill. Only a couple of assists, but that doesn't matter. LethuL's been getting in the face of FaZe, and maybe starting to feel that this is a potential winning map. But now, Sentinels have the lead, 177, make it 8. And FaZe just can't really find the same form they had at the start of the game, and LethuL is just holding forward at the moment and continuing to push anything that gets in his way.
LethuL's been playing lights out, not only for this event, but it's been a string of events, nearly a year now of beautiful play from him. He took that drop personally and has bounced back and has been playing some of the best Halo he's played in a very long time. looking to get the better of his former team here as they close in on victory, needing only 20 points and 2 down for FaZe.
Yeah, maybe one last push here for FaZe to try and stop this incredible run and this incredible comeback from Sentinels. But as Royal 2 goes down, A, B, and C are still in control here. It's going to be one last effort, but no one's there. Sentinels take the lead, and FaZe find themselves with quite the matchup on their hands.
Well, well, well. Sentinels draw first blood. Taking a look at the script, FaZe did not see this one on the cards. They're on the back foot. The perfect start, but Sentinels found their footing and pressured FaZe like no other.
And the expression is a penny for your thoughts, but I would pay a little bit more to get the thoughts of all 8 of these players, but specifically one of them, LethuL, 18 kills. Really stepping up to the plate. And remember, they were down quite bad on recharge strongholds, but then they took control. They wrestled it back from FaZe, and then they forced them into a constant staggered spawn where they were never able to find their footing again. 4.5k damage for Tej. Very impressive.
Big damage numbers coming out of LethuL. And that's exactly what they're going to need, not just for one game, but for an entire series to take down the juggernauts that are FaZe. But the desk highlighted before the game, Falcated, how important he was to the team, and he was putting up killing sprees of his own.
I mean, I think every member of Sentinels is going to have to step up if they want to take down FaZe, the current champions here in the HCS. And next up, it's Slayer Solitude. So it's a new map, a new mode that's going to have to be practiced combined here in the HCS, only added for this event, of course. We'll have to see whether maybe Sentinels has put a little bit more time in, or whether FaZe have been focusing on maybe some areas that they needed to as well. But if we see Sentinels go 2-0 up, then suddenly that is alarm bells ringing for the FaZe roster.
Slayer Solitude on the horizon then. For FaZe, fist bumps all around. They won't be phased, pardon the pun, by what just happened. They've always shown great resilience when they found themselves down by 1 or 2, indeed sometimes 3 in a series. They'll be resetting here, thinking about what's in front of them and not what was behind. Sentinels though, 1 to the good. Like you say, if they can just pip this Slayer, all of a sudden the complexion of this series is totally different.
Well, both teams have been able to find a victory already on Solitude Slayer so far this event, so it's not like it's their first time playing it on LAN. They'll be well versed, they'll be well rehearsed. And of course that sniper rifle is going to be a major focus point for both teams. I want to see Spartan get hold of it, I want to see Frosty get hold of it. In fact, anyone of these 8 players could put on a show for us here. It's map number 2, Sentinels with a map lead against the current champions FaZe.
Renegade soars into the yard like a lamb to the slaughter. Straight heading on the chopping block, he's down. Opening pick will go Sentinel's way then. LethuL trapped down bottom middle with not a lot of real estate, not a lot of avenues to explore. As a result of that, he will ultimately meet his demise. 2-2 now the score. Quantum Translocator was scooped up off screen. Doesn't appear as though anybody has got it down with a teleporter in play. Frosty has got that sniper rifle, however, as he backs away towards bottom dip, and 3 members of Sentinels towards blue. This game will slow down for a moment. An opportunity then for Frosty, excuse me, that's a combination of SnakeBite and Frosty. He will take alternative angles.
So surprised that Frosty's even been able to stay alive for the amount of time he did when he was roaming around bottom middle. As you said, the game already very slowly paced. A chance maybe to be a little fly on the wall and see what the comms are like with FaZe Clan.
Matt, care.
You turn on me, guys. Blue truck.
I'm looking. I don't know if
You went blue truck. Blue truck.
Okay. You go to left?
John, can you look at me?
Yeah, I have you.
I gotta fall.
One's S4, PJ.
Yeah, S4 at snipe and open field.
S4-1.
I cannot push them.
They're not good.
Posters coming. Posters.
Sure.
They're trying to single me out here.
Yeah, we can't really help you.
You know, John? Let me
No,
get that.
I'm good. Yeah, so
Put you to me.
I'm trying to help you, Matt. I'm trying to help you.
S4.
I'm trying to help you, Matt. Yeah, I'm here, Matt.
Where's this? I can pitch him.
Hey, push. One dual shot. I got both.
Top tip on me.
Top tip. Help PJ?
Driveway.
Yeah, I'm here, PJ.
I can drive it.
No, let's get yard BR.
Drive it weak.
Dead.
Nice, guys.
I'm gonna come in.
Yo, spawn him snipe.
Matt, I'm letting him spawn there, okay? I'm watching every field.
Yo,
Overfield,
ready,
hotel,
hotel, ready, hotel.
Everyone
One
hotel.
second, top side, one
Yeah, two subs, snipe.
We shoot hotel, we shoot hotel.
Yeah, can you go my glass, Red? Can you go my glass?
Yeah, hold on, I will. PJ, I left you, okay?
I'm out of ammo, I'm out of
Yeah,
ammo.
I'm gonna go glass, You can back up if you need a weapon.
Yeah, I need to back up, Matt. I need to back up.
Okay.
I have no
Yo,
ammo.
guys, I need you guys to look over me.
I'm trying to look.
I hear you, PJ. I hear you. I'm waiting for you. I'm just
I
waiting.
gotta go YRBR. I gotta go
S4,
YRBR.
Matt.
Go check Rust, check Rust.
Yo, 2 top snipe. Yo, Matt, you're solo as fuck, okay?
I'm going S4. I'm going S4.
Alright. I'm
Yo,
going.
John,
I'm
I
going
left
to
glass.
John.
I left glass.
Yeah,
I
I'm
left glass.
coming up glass. Give me a second.
Yeah.
We get snipe on John.
Yo, he's marking. Bottom.
I got him.
Nice. Shoot. Good shit, bud.
Hey, that.
One dead, free kill.
I can't see him, Matt. Can I
Yeah,
see
we
him?
have no angles, no
Yo,
angles.
posters, PJ, soda.
Two here.
I'm here, man.
I stuck one. Another one soda, another one soda.
Big lift, PJ.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to
you're
live.
good, PJ. I got you. Sniper's out, by the way.
Yeah, there was a guy
Yo,
like...
20 seconds to
Snipe in
snipe. I
20
want to play
seconds.
for this.
Yeah, thrust is about to be out. I'm waiting for thrust.
You're waiting for Thrust? Okay, we push after the thrust.
There's one U-turn or something.
Snipe in 15, snipe in 15.
I'm gonna drive right.
Two pillars, guys. Look at PJ. Look at
Yeah, I
PJ.
gotta run, guys.
Okay, one was absolute bottom
Snipe
mid.
in 10, snipe
John,
in
one
10.
is gonna push me.
I'm here, PJ. He's pushing you. Loop, on you.
Already on you. There's gonna be enough.
It's intense, but the small talk so important from FaZe. All the minute details of I'm leaving you, I'm watching you, can you get my cross? And it's all so important. But all the meanwhile, Sentinels have now done well to finally break that little setup that FaZe have had. A 4-kill game as Frosty just wastes some of this snipe ammo. It is certainly not going to be a fast-paced game. It may explode a little bit if we see another break from Sentinels and they try and take their advantage, but FaZe doing amazing off spawn once more to just shut down the Sentinels push.
Frosty was concerned for his health, and that was why he started wasting some of those sniper bullets just to ensure that if he did go down, Sentinels wouldn't be able to use that weapon too much against them, but they've kept them alive, they've kept them healthy here. But now he's trapped, all 3 members actually trapped S1 at the moment. SnakeBite the only one who spawned out. Bubu dubu though down to no shield, and Frosty connected with a couple of pivotal bodies there.
Massive bodies. I mean, it would have been a very different scoreline had he not. But it is still Sentinels who were able to string a couple of kills together thanks to a well-placed grenade from bubu dubu. 3 down now. QT's about to spawn. Bubu is able to grab it. So that means he can have a little dance around Solitude if he likes. Try and confuse and break the ankles of some of these FaZe members as again Falcated gets 1. And at 18 to 16, it's still far too close to try and suggest who really has control of this one right now. FaZe had a little bit of control, but it quickly got taken back by Sen.
LethuL's pushed up driveway. He was isolated though. That meant the freest kill in terms of FaZe are going to be able to claim. Bubu dubu all out of QT now. Just about gets away with his life and 2 kills elsewhere from his teammates. We'll close the distance on this game once more. We're within 3 with 7 minutes on the clock. Royal 2 eliminated down on silo. SnakeBite's in hotel. Look at the check-in. Bubu dubu makes sure he checks out along with Spartan. And they will not be holding on to his luggage. Renegade SnakeBite in the respawn screen, as is now. Royal 2 picking up 2. This game is on a knife's edge, and FaZe just can't get breathing space. Not really.
Well, FaZe aren't able to really escape. Sentinels listening very well. The call-outs to the players who are bottom middle, they're constantly getting finished off. Not having as much success as trying to keep their life, like Frosty did right at the start of the game when he had that sniper rifle. But again, he gets called out, Bubu will finish. And it's very back and forth at the moment, but what FaZe are doing well is still trading. They're still holding this lead, albeit a small one. It just keeps them ever so slightly ahead in this race, and Sentinels, it means they are the team who has to be pushing, has to be trying to press and trying to break any sort of minor setup that may be had by the FaZe clan. But now it's only a 1-kill game, make it a tied game. And again, Sentinels are doing so well to rock the boat here and not allow FaZe to play the game they want to play.
LethuL spots Frosty bottom middle. Bubu dubu is putting in damage as well. Desperately trying to survive is the Iceman. LethuL ensures he picks up 2. Does not want to bite off more than he can chew with Royal 2 on driveway. Instead, opts to stay alive. The experienced man knows when he's down in the fight and knows when he can take those advantages. 2 down once more, a piece this time. And we're all tied up.
But it's crazy how slow the game was right at the start, but how action-packed it's been in the mid-game. Frantically darting across the map as Spartan now has the chance with the sniper rifle to maybe take the lead even further here for Sentinels. 35 to 34. FaZe perhaps going to try and back off ever so slightly now because they know that sniper is in the hands of one of the most dangerous players to have it.
Oh! Spartan lines up 1. Danger bells ringing here for FaZe. As they're positioned over towards light rifle, loop, and gold. And it is now Sentinels in the ascendancy. It is Sentinels with a 2-kill lead. SnakeBite will drop down bottom. And Spartan will connect with a body. Oh, and he finds Renegade as well. 3 kills now for Sentinels. They require 10. And FaZe continue to get put in a blender right now.
Bubu now with his chance. And Sniper still in control of Sentinels. He's been spotted out, but you can see FaZe, they're backed off at the moment. They're over in yard, and they're kind of being pinched right now, but Falcated moves in maybe a little bit too soon. Good grenades from Spartan just to ensure that he finishes off that damage, but FaZe, they're all forced back. And Sentinels, they really want to press this advantage. They really want to pinch this one, but FaZe are trying to avoid it happening, and they're trying to escape. But they've all escaped down different angles, and they'll be taking separate fights, but they are winning some pivs.
4-kill lead then for Sentinels. Make it 5. As they continue to put together slays, continue to fight for one another. But as I say, that 3 go down. This is going to be a very nervy finish.
Yeah, dare anyone pick up the Quantum Translocator top middle. Whilst it's not quite a camouflage, it's not an overshield, it could still be a difference maker if you can surprise an opponent with your new position. 45 to 44 as SnakeBite gets the opener. So now FaZe have the extra player on the map. And you can see they're trying to control top middle as SnakeBite takes down Falcated. The general doing what he needs to do to keep his team on top, but it's still 46 to 45 as the QT gets slammed into his chest.
Frosty with sniper rifle as well. The game could very well be in his hands. Both teams require 4 kills here. Bubu dubu trying to put down some damage onto SnakeBite. They trade both down to half shields. This quantum translocator has not been put into use just yet, as it slowly bleeds out of time. Bubu dubu down to half shields. LethuL on garbage truck. It is SnakeBite who continues to hold snipe plat. Frosty trying to find those angles. Renegade's got to pick elsewhere, but it's been traded.
He's got a sniper and sniper ammo available to him as well. 3 kills required for both teams. Frosty knows that he's got a lot of responsibility here. 48 to 47. Another one is had from Sentinels as now Frosty backs away to try and reposition. He needs to find an angle where he can make this sniper rifle count.
The entire FaZe team put it in reverse. So much pressure on the shoulders of Frosty to find the damage he needs. Falcated jumps up and challenges. And his Sentinels who have completely rotated over towards yard. And Renegade picked up 2. And LethuL's answered back. And it's Sentinels who claim game 2. A madness.
The champions find themselves 2-0 down to not only Sentinels, but of course, previous teammate. And Spartan's starting to heat up, starting to get loud, starting to get proud on that main stage. And FaZe suddenly find themselves having a reverse sweep. Is there any concern in the eyes of Renegade as he looks across to his teammates? They had it close, 49 to 49, but they just couldn't quite get that final kill on their side. Frosty with that chance with a sniper rifle could not hit the shot. And even with 14 kills, even with 17 kills from Renegade was not enough. Again, it was that man you mentioned earlier, Falcated, with 15 kills in what was a very interesting game of Solitude Slayer. Very slow at the start and then suddenly picked up in the mid-game, and it was so hectic. Difficult to navigate a game like that when you're bottom middle trying to check all those different angles, but it's about surviving at times.
It was SnakeBite leading the lobby in damage, 4,600. But it was Sentinels who win the day. They claim a 2-0 series advantage. And I have to talk about that endgame, Dan. As scrappy as it was and as messy, they recognized Sniper was positioned tram loop, and they all pushed yard, avoiding the sniper rifle entirely and having a numbers advantage. That is experience. This team is putting together something special.
I mean, it was a very brave push. I think Bubu was leading the charge initially, but it was the fact that the damage was done right at the end, and they followed up with it. They didn't back off, Sentinels. They made a play, they called the play, and they all followed through together. And I think that's what's important. If you are going to make a heads-up play like that, that everyone has to be on the same page. And you can see Frosty here with that chance that maybe it looked like he had an opportunity there, but I think that's just because of the player outlines. I don't even think he could have hit that because LethuL was behind the wall. But Bubu was up out of his seat. Spartan was, of course, up out of his seat. I think even Falcated might have shifted a little bit, but one person who did not move, who was not phased, was LethuL. Still, eyes on the prize, still knows there is a job to do here as we move into King of the Hill.
Taking a look at the records then, the tail of the tape. Both teams unbeaten in this tournament on King of the Hill. And both teams with such similar, looking at points cap, looking at KD, there's nothing to separate these two.
Which you'd say is good news for Sentinels, really. Another good game type for them. And as I said, a good series layout. An amazing opportunity now for them to break into the top 3 and to be in the winners' finals tomorrow. Now, when we look at the history of all these players, they've all been up there. They've been in the top 3. They've been in grand finals. I mean, LethuL, one of the best players of all time in Halo. And they are one map away from making sure they find themselves in a Championship Sunday situation where they are still in the winners bracket. As for FaZe, this is now a little bit of a different story for them. A reverse sweep is required if they are going to be in that winners bracket final tomorrow. Otherwise, it will be a battle through the elimination bracket. Focus is definitely required, and maybe a team talk between all 4 of these players so that everyone is on the same page, because it is still doable. It is certainly not a position where FaZe are going to be thinking that they are down and they are out. It has to start here in map 3, though.
FaZe being tested. What are they made of? Down by 2 in the series. Do they have anything left to give in this series? And for Sentinels, you spoke about it, LethuL recognizes this job's not done yet. The best teams, they close these things out.
And I don't care if the players will say, oh, you know, we're not thinking about it, it's not in our minds. There is definitely a small seed that's planted in the back of the minds of the what if. What if we lose to our old teammate? And you've got to push past that and focus on the game that's in front of you now. King of the Hill live fire. And we've seen several times FaZe performing well on this mapping mode, and they need to now dig deep and show why they were the champions of Arlington and Dallas prior. Is it going to be Royal2 who steps up to the plate, as he is often the slayer for this squad in these objective games?
LethuL scooped up a double kill. They have control of green. It hasn't come easy. 3 dead for FaZe. Overshield about to pop up, and bubu could be about to claim this for almost free. Shields have been popped. Smoke screen goes down. A body shot through the smoke as well. Dubu has fallen. Overshield is down, but it is leaning towards Spartan, who has now just popped it into his chest. And FaZe have isolated him, and FaZe have absolutely obliterated him.
I mean, he might have got the overshield, but he was reloading at the time, so he couldn't really do anything as sitting duck. But all the meanwhile, Sentinels are still scoring in this first hill as they get it about over 75 to 80% now, as Royal2 is not going to be allowed to use the sniper rifle. He gets denied.
Shut down. SnakeBite on Nest. The trade between Renegade and Sparty. 3 dead for a moment. LethuL, last one up that can be an influence for the moment. Renegade survives on pipes, making himself a very difficult kill. LethuL will lock it in. But they only need a fraction of time now, do Sentinels, to go 1 up here in game 3.
It's going to be a solid hold now from FaZe. Sentinels know it's just 1 push, 1 break, and they will have this first point, but if they do lose that push, then it could very easily go in FaZe's favor. So it has to be well calculated, well planned, with the Renegade behind enemy lines with the heat wave, and now a sniper rifle in the hands of Frosty. This push is so difficult for Sentinels. If they go out of garage door, they're most likely going to get blamed. So it has to be a push either via bottom middle or sandbags, but bubu eats the first bullet.
Frosty threads the needle. Kills go in FaZe's favor. Spartan tries to even the odds. With a combination of him and Falcated, they get the job done successfully. Frosty gets pushed out a hill, and the heat wave will do the job. And Sentinels go 1-0 up. And they're on the cusp. So close to completely clean sweeping the defending champions.
How is your bottle? How are your nerves at this point? All 8 players are going to be feeling an entirely different experience right now as Renegade gets a double off the back of that overshield he was able to grab. But grabbing the overshield, it meant Sentinels were able to get this first point, but FaZe now have control of this second hill. And they've got control of Nest. As long as Royal2 can stay alive here, and you can see Renegade prioritizing just an angle here so that Royal2 will get some support. Royal2 is going to be the first point of contact, so it's so important he stays alive for as long as possible, but now he falls, and this is Sentinel's chance to try and push up.
Can Renegade escape with his life? Out of the frying pan into the fire. Straight onto the spinning back fist of Spartan. And now it is Sentinels who hold the setup on tower. And it is FaZe who have to muster up some sort of play. Frosty goes bottom middle. Spartan's waiting for him. Beautifully anticipated. LethuL and Spartan down to no shield as they scurry away bottom middle. Screaming for help will be Spartan, but down he goes. Damage being done all over the place, and LethuL lands a Superman punch to his former teammate.
Lines it up, but bullets are out. They have been able to stop FaZe from getting a considerable amount of time, but FaZe still hold the lead in this hill. Sentinels have yet to really have a chance of setting up, but maybe this could be their opportunity. It's a 2 versus 2. Falcated is desperately trying to find Renegade, but Renegade comes from the heavens and will just slap him in the back. LethuL's there to clean up, but with Overshield coming up, Sentinels need to then suddenly shift their focus here. Spawning over towards House, they might be able to get an angle, but it looks like FaZe are in the better spot as Frosty picks up the OV. And now this second hill is very much in favor of FaZe.
Frosty's now tasked with clearing out tower. LethuL has stayed alive for so very long. Repulsor will not be enough to send Frosty off the map. 3 dead for Sentinels, and FaZe can continue to score and continue to make inroads in tying up this game.
Sentinels with one last chance to try and break this hill, but they may just start to think about hill number 3. I'm sure there's going to be a lot on the brain of the Sentinels roster as FaZe tie it up. Let's jump into a listening with Sentinels and see how they're feeling.
One shot, nest bridge. One shot, nest bridge. I hear that. Pillars, two pillars. Two pillars to white wall on me. Fast.
By
one shot.
And then I'm on
Cement to A plat. And back green, last guy. What? Yeah, two there. Two big. Two big. I saw you running at Death Cam. One's big door now, and one's going. They're both big. Nice. Big door again. They're just sitting there. Big door.
Yep. In now.
Big door.
Two there. Two there.
Back up. Really.
They might go A plat.
Both weak. I'm back.
They might go. Yeah, I went on.
I got nades A plat.
Nice job. We spawned.
Might go around the cuts.
Yeah, they might.
Yo, look cuts.
Top mid, Frosty, and A plat. And top mid.
Gonna hit screens. Gonna hit screens. Already here. Renegade.
On us.
Weak low.
On us, dude. On us.
Screens kill me. On us, one shot. Two screens.
One shot.
One shot, Keydoor.
Right on you.
All good.
Alright, OV and 40. Two in A. 3 in A.
Play for this guy green. Play for the guy green.
3 of them are in A right now.
I'm grabbing
I think I just heard one go screens.
Yeah, I'm playing for green.
Green.
I'm with you, Mike. There's definitely a guy green. Big door.
Yeah,
One shot back green. One shot back green.
I'm dead to
Yeah,
pillars.
big door.
Pillars gonna kill me.
Guys, I'm
Weak
small.
pillars.
One shot
Weak
back
pillars to bottom mid. Really weak, Jesse. Bottom mid.
I'm listening to this spawner.
Okay.
This whole time.
Alright, okay.
Less than 20.
Yep, 20.
I like this.
Got
Bottom mid on me, Renegade. Have shields. He's heat wave to
He's
Keydoor.
going
Heat wave to Keydoor.
I'm watching your cuts.
10 seconds.
spawned all the way at
He's
Mud.
Keydoor.
Okay, I have Shroud.
Up Keydoor.
Getting
Yeah.
shot
Keydoor,
from green.
Guys,
two on us, one.
help Jesse.
Yeah, I'm
Mine too.
on
One shot screens. One shot screens. Fuck, bro. On
Low
us.
cuts. Nice. Screens. 2 dead. Nice.
I'm making.
Should get
here,
us.
Mike, I'm
Should
here,
get
Mike.
us.
Could be
Cuts one.
Yeah.
One of us, guys.
No, one shot behind it.
Get hill time without us. Get hill time without us. Never
Snipes
stop.
up.
Yep, let's get our space.
I'm
Get our
trying
space. Go for it. I'm helping you, Jesse.
On it.
Key door.
Stay alive.
One shot rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and spawn window.
We should push the
Two
rat.
rat.
We
Two
should
rat.
push those
Two
guys.
rat.
Yeah, hold on.
Watch out. Watch out, rat. I got one more rat. I'm in jail.
I'm going forward.
So FaZe take the lead, but Sentinels still feeling themselves, managed to get that overshield and now can start to set up for this 4th hill. 3 are dead on the side of FaZe, and this game, again, it's so closely contested as Falcated puts another set of bullets into the FaZe members. And this is a lot of hill time that's been gathered by this overshield. It's why it's so important to make sure you are the overshield player when it comes to this 4th hill.
FaZe remain flustered. Haven't quite looked their best. That's in large parts credit to Sentinels for just not letting them settle, not letting them get comfortable. Dubu will get obliterated in the back by a commando. Frosty then will back away over towards dummies. Falcated will re-peek and they will step inside the hill and we will be all tied up.
And we go to top middle. 2 minutes 20 still left on the clock, so still plenty of time. It's going to be FaZe who have the first chance to set up, though. That's the interesting decision you have to make when you are those Sentinels members right at the end. You are so close to getting that 4th hill, but do you wait until you're a little bit more secure on the map before you start to put those final seconds in? And as I say that, Sentinels have been able to set foot in the hill themselves as a couple of members make it 3 go down on the side of FaZe. This next overshield is massive. If Sentinels grab it, the game could certainly be theirs. They could grab this next hill and then just play time. But FaZe, are they going to fight for it? Royal 2 back tower, is he going to be caught unaware here? Looks like he will be.
FaZe on the ropes. But they're hanging in there. Falcated with the heat wave will do the job. SnakeBite on overshield, he has picked it up. And now how important will that be? Can Sentinels isolate him here? Overshield's almost completely gone and now is, while they have a member, position top middle, scoring.
great time from Sentinels. They're prioritizing the objective just the right way they need to, but then they step out as soon as they lose a member, making FaZe really work for it. 2 go down again, 2 versus 2 here. Big shots from bubu, but needs a little bit of help and a little bit of support. They can't allow FaZe to just be able to force them out easily, and they're still gathering time. Finally, FaZe forced them out. But now Falcated, who has 14 kills, he's been unbelievable this series. And really has a chance to do some damage to these players on tower side.
Continues to hold tower. Royal 2 down to half shields. Frosty's gonna pop up from bottom middle. Renegade is handled top middle. 2 down for Sentinels.
Oh dear.
Frosty in a 1v1. Frosty gets taken down
Royal
with
2.
a combination of Spartan. 1v1 then, and Sentinels take the lead.
2 minutes on the clock, maybe a little bit too long to be playing time like I had previously mentioned, so Sentinel's gonna have to fight for this one. They do have a sniper rifle to work with, and Spartan, when he heats up, when he has this weapon in his hands, he can be so destructive. He's so confident walking around like a shotgun sometimes. But SnakeBite, he holds his own.
SnakeBite being chased though, getting hassled and harried in the back. Falcated will get the job done. And Sentinels have got control of green. Royal 2 trying to fight out of big door. Falcated making himself a difficult kill, trying to strong side, trying to jump, trying to evade bullets. He done so long enough for bubu dubu to continue scoring points. And Royal 2, double kill for bubu.
Repulse is massive, and still Sentinels are scoring. 3 are down for FaZe, and Sentinels are in touching distance now of a 3-0 against the reigning champs. SnakeBite's the next victim to bubu's pool of death as he still holds on to this hill.
Royal 2 then, you're gonna be the first point of contact. Something has to give. LethuL's gonna be the first pick. Royal 2 has got the kill. But can they clear him out of the hill? Renegade steps in for a moment. Triple kill for Spartan, and Falcated will ensure a clean sweep for Sentinels.
Sentinels have done the unthinkable, a 3-0 against our reigning champs FaZe, as Spartan gets loud and proud on the stage, as always, as he returns to the top 3. Somewhere that he will call home, that he was residing in for quite some time, but then he fell out of favor. But that man on your screen, what on earth is going through his mind? Dropped from that roster. The changes were made. He had to rebuild. He had to re-strategize from team to team, from players to players. And finally, LethuL has a squad that can go alongside him back to the top of the game.
And there were murmurings and criticisms that HCS Ireland team was a fluke, and the bracket run that they had was favorable. They didn't have to beat any of the big teams when it came to crunch time. They've beaten Optic Gaming, and they have now taken down the defending champions FaZe, who now have to contend with the elimination bracket.
Now Sentinels, can they start to think about a potential championship here, a potential trophy? If you can beat the best, suddenly you become the best. Suddenly they are the #1 seed in this tournament. A 3-0 victory for Sentinels. Well, it may have been close in game number 2, but how huge was that comeback in map number 1? You asked me right at the start, where does this series go? How important is map number 1? We saw FaZe take so much control, a 100-point lead at one point, and then Sentinels, they just wrestle it back. They forced themselves back into that first map 1, and then it just gave them that belief that actually, yeah, we can do this. We are good enough to go toe-to-toe with FaZe Clan, and then it just snowballed from there. Great belief, great confidence, but then the strategy we saw employed, especially in map number 2, in those final moments on Solitude, all 4 members committing together, trusting each other. How long have we waited to see Spartan have teammates that trust him, that he trusts as well? It's great to see all 4 of these players back on top.
You spoke about, how important that confidence booster game, that series against Optic, just knowing that you can not only compete and maybe go to a game 5, but you can beat the top teams. How pivotal was that? It was 130 points to 8 in favor of FaZe in that game 1. Like you say, they took control and never really relinquished it.
No, I think that Sentinels will look at this and say, where can we go from here? Is this now our bar? Have we hit it? Do we keep going? There's going to be, potential for SSG or Optic in that winners final. They've already beat Optic once. Maybe SSG is the last team that's going to be on their list of trying to take down.
Well, what are Sentinels' ambitions going forward in the tournament? That's for Lottie and the boys to break down. Take it away.